Check these moves, Marvel. Shazam!
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Brian and Rob Review. My name is Rob.
And I'm Brian.
Today we're going to be talking about Shazam. We've been kind of going through the DC extended universe right now. We did Aquaman, we did the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and maybe someday we'll get to the other ones here and move on to some other things as well. So I watched this movie a while ago. I did a little recap refresher on it and stuff like that, just so I could kind of catch it up. I didn't get to sit down and rewatch it recently. How about you? Did you rewatch it in the last couple of days? Or?
Yeah, I did. I rewatched it, but in segments. What I love about this movie is that it really does play to the kids. There's some things with language and situations of what would a 14-year-old do if all of a sudden he was in a grown-up man's body. Of course, he might get into some mischief, so you got to be
go get some beer.
Yeah, which actually, like, that scene I'm all for. I love that they drink it and then they spit it out. They're like, oh, this is nasty, but they want to go to like a strip club. Families need to be aware of that. But this movie gets why young men and women like read comics or watch these superhero flicks. We want to experience these powers, and that's what makes it so fun. I love that Freddie Freeman, he really is the person to connect with the audience.
I watched this with the kids, so it was very much like it reminded me of Big with superheroes, and I think they play into that too. I mean, even the scene where they're in the mall and he kind of starts to dance on the piano thing. It was a ton of fun. I want to rewatch it. I'm looking forward to the sequel, seeing where they're going with that. But it was hysterical. So, yeah. I mean, it could have went over the top. It towed that line, kind of like maybe like Deadpool did. Obviously very different movies, but they both very easily could have been ridiculous or campy, and it really towed that line. I think the only thing that could have made it a little better for me would have been the villain. Like, I love Mark Strong, but I feel like he was not the strongest villain, pun intended. But he was cool. I thought the guy who played Billy Batson was good, and the guy who played Shazam, obviously they changed his character name. He's not Captain Marvel anymore, which is weird because he can't ever tell people what his name is.
Right.
So I guess I think right. If he says it, he's going to lose his secret identity. So it made sense that he had one. So he's got to rely on somebody else to come up with it. So they'll probably be calling him something silly like the Red Bomber or something like that in the next film. Because, they can't ever give these characters names in the movies for some reason.
Right.
I don't know why.
I like Captain Sparkle Fingers. I think that should stick.
Sparkle Fingers. I thought, there was a lot of really cool interactions. I like the dynamic with the kids and the family, and and it was like tugged at your heartstrings a little bit, but not too much. It was cool. I think the only thing I felt like the kid who played Billy and the guy who played Shazam, they didn't really feel like the same person.
Yeah.
So character wise, like, he was kind of sarcastic and snarky and whatnot when he was Billy, and then he was all like, oh my god, look at my superpowers, but it's fine. It's a very small thing on there. I enjoyed this movie pretty good. What do you think about the implications going forward in the DC universe with this movie? Think it's going to tie in or stay on its own?
I think that it's going to stay on its own for now. What's the next movie? It's going to be something about gods that's slated for 2023.
Fury of the Gods or something.
Fury of the Gods, that's right. Yeah, I think that they hit a home run with this one, and to try and tie it in much more will probably mess things up. Right now, it's definitely not your Zack Snyder DCEU,
Sure. Now, I don't think anything that Zach did with those movies means that these can't all coexist in other things, like the blueprint for laying out this whole cinematic universe really didn't lie with Marvel. It lied with the animated series in the past. Batman the Animated Series, Superman, Justice League Unlimited.
Mhm.
They have it all there. They had Captain Marvel, Shazam in it. They had, dark brooding Batman. They had all these characters together, different tones and things like that, but they made it work. So, you just put them on different adventures. I mean, they surely had nods. You had somebody show up in a Superman costume at the end.
Yeah.
You had Ben Affleck's Batarang in it. So you're showing that you're in the universe. So it's not totally separate. You can say like this new Matt Reeves, the Batman that's coming out. That's not really part of anything. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well, this definitely played into the fact that it was part of the DCEU. It was just the more fun, lighthearted side of the DCEU. And it's even better that you can have a world where Superman does exist and Batman does exist. So those things are possibilities in the minds and imaginations of these kids.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I liked it. I'm looking for the sequel. Black Adam's coming up, so really, if Shazam 2 does well, Black Adam's already being made. Obviously, they're going to meet up down the road because there's not really much of a Shazam without Black Adam. I mean, they're intrinsically tied. It's like the Batman and Joker. That's why I still have not seen Joker, because I'm just kind of like, he needs to belong with Batman. That's why I haven't seen Venom, because he needs to belong with Spider-Man. And I'm sure I'll like them when I see them. But like, if they don't bring in Black Adam, if you don't bring The Rock to face off against this guy, that's going to be a wasted opportunity just to have The Rock play a hero. So I'm hoping we get that down the road.
Yeah,
I think the Black Adam movie is supposed to take place like way before, So obviously he's a semi-immortal character or whatever, but I guess it's good to save him though, because you don't really know about any of the other villains of Shazam if you haven't read the comics, which I haven't. I'm only really familiar with him through animated movies, animated TV shows, and stuff like that. So I never read a Captain Marvel comic. I think I'd maybe have seen him pop up in a couple things, but probably not. Really, it's just animated form up until this point. But all I know about him is Black Adam, because he always fights Black Adam. So I kind of like that they're saving it. And the first one was successful. And if the second one's successful, which it probably will be, then we'll get him in the third one.
Yeah. Well, I hope we get to see him. The Rock's always fun to watch. I think it'd be cool to see Zachary Levi face off against The Rock, even in the comedic tones. Not, The Rock would crush him if they were actually like going toe to toe. But as far as their comedic chops, I think it would be fun to see the two of them together.
Yeah, and that's where you can't, because like, have you seen the animated one that has Superman in it? So there's a movie.
I've seen maybe the climax of it, like in clips on YouTube.
Yeah, it was good, but it has Superman and Shazam team up and they fight Black Adam, and it's kind of the story there. That's where the Dark Snyder version doesn't fit with the Shazam version. You can't smash those two together. So Superman needs to be his hopeful, optimistic self as he was towards the end of Justice League and stuff, and moving forward. It can't be all, epic. Like it can be epic. It can be a cool shot, but it can't be epic,
Right.
No Lord of the Rings final battle. Like, it's got to be a bit of a punch 'em up, and you can't do too much of that because people get bored watching it,
Right.
It's where it's like a fine line. We wanted to see it our whole lives, and then when we finally have it, people complain that it's too much.
Yeah. Right.
But in animated form,
is the Black Adam, do you think with them going to the history, is it going to be like the Scorpion King of the DCEU? Because they did the Scorpion King with The Rock after the Mummy Returns. So if we go back too far, maybe trying too hard to make it too serious. So hopefully they keep the same tone.
Yeah,
with Shazam.
I don't know if it'll have the same tone as long as it fits. As long as they can fit together, we have. They're going to be dealing with like Justice Society level heroes like Hawkman's in it and Dr. Fate, stuff like that. So we're going back probably into the 80s, 70s. I don't know when they're going to choose to have that take place, because if you introduce all these characters, do you want to potentially lose them for modern day sequels?
Right.
You know,
right.
I mean, I guess we're getting off onto Black Adam now and off of Shazam, but what did you think of the villains in general? I gave my opinion on Mark Strong. How'd you like the villains in the Seven Deadly Sins?
That was probably the weakest point in the film, where those awful computer generated monsters. They look like they belong in Ghostbusters, you know, and they were all generic. I didn't have as much of a problem with the main villain, but he was definitely there just to be the villain. What I liked about him is that he did take himself seriously, and that contrast between Billy and a guy who actually knows what's going on. He could really play up the fact that he was up against a child.
Right.
So I like that dynamic between the two of them. I think that worked well. But as far as the actual Seven Deadly Sins, they were super generic and undefined. Like one minute they're turning into smoke and you can't get to them, and the next minute they're like, well, we're not going to do that anymore. You know, you can punch us, or we're going to stay solid.
I was surprised to see them pass off all the powers to the kids in this movie.
You were?
I thought that would be saved for a sequel. You know,
okay.
so it's kind of like, so if they put Black Adam in there, you kind of blown your load on everything Shazam. You know, like where else is there to go? You know, Batman's got a lot of villains. Shazam's got probably not a lot that we know about mainstream, so they can make it interesting, or they can stretch it out. But I guess just like Aquaman, you only get so many chances to make a Shazam movie. So I guess fit in everything you can. We'll see where they go from there, because I mean he's tied in very much with mythology and, you know, some religious stuff and all. You know, there's a lot going on with Shazam. You got the magic and everything like that in there. So
the one thing I will say about that, like, and I know they had to like do this for the comedic effect, but you know, one of his powers is the wisdom of Solomon, and maybe he just never figured that one out, but like that one just didn't exist at all.
Right.
Like it was just a kid with superpowers who had no idea what he was doing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess his figuring things out would be the way the wisdom. I mean, that's a hard one to play. Like, he's supposed to be the smartest person in the room, but he's supposed to be kind of an idiot. You know, he's the he's the continual fish out of water, which is kind of how it works. He, you know, even in the animated shows, he's so excited to be with the other superheroes and everything like that. And, you know, he's so upbeat, and he doesn't come across as wise, but maybe that's different in the comics. I don't know. Again, I haven't read the comics, so I can't speak to that, but I'm sure they develop, he can't perpetually be a kid, right? I mean, I guess in comic form you can, but in real life, this kid is going to be 18 the next time the movie comes out. Maybe he'll be 17, you know, so you can't really build a franchise around him being a kid. You have to evolve it into something else if you want to keep it going.
Right.
Otherwise, you got to keep recasting the kid.
Right. Exactly. And it kind of, I think it sounds cool and it fits within the name of Shazam, but really it just doesn't work. You kind of lose all the magic if when he says Shazam, he's virtually a completely different person, you know, a whole lot, you know, completely mature, knows how to handle himself, knows what to do. You don't get the fun.
Right. I guess the way to change it up is that once he becomes an adult, if he's like a really fat, out of shape guy, and then he says, you know, then he gets Shazam, and now he's all buff. So I mean, I guess you could play it up for laughs, but then we'd be fat shaming people, and we can't do that anymore. So
yeah. I have a friend who created this comic series called Nex, Nex, but it was the play on it was supposed to be a comedy, and it was redneck superheroes, And the strong man has like a fantastic metabolism, but he just puts so much garbage into his body that like his superpower is really just keeping him alive. It's kind of the same thing. He's just got a beer gut, doesn't eat well, and he gets tired real quick, even though he's supposed to be super strong because he's just that much of a slob. I find that like it's a great premise.
Yeah. Which I guess we kind of got that with the one of the foster kids. He was the kind of fat kid, and then he becomes the buff. I don't know if he's Hispanic or whatever, so I guess you get that little bit of a joke in there that he's buff, but definitely sequel worthy. Definitely want to check it out. Like I said, this is a fun one to watch with your kids. It was a nice palate cleanser after like Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
While there's things in that movie I like, it was like, okay, well, I can't take my son to see this because he's too young. He's not going to pay attention. Meanwhile, I had 4 children rolling on the ground laughing, enjoying a superhero movie, which is great. So
yeah. This is one where they got it right. Although they were following the kind of, I feel like, the Marvel formula with that a bit, but it's just somebody gave them permission to have fun with it. And that's really all we're asking for when we want to see these superhero movies. We just want to have fun.
We call it the Marvel formula because they did it in movies first, but that's just comic book formula. I mean, that's just how it is. You tell the origin story, you got the thing, it's fun, it's funny, it's, cool visuals. I mean, that's just comic book storytelling brought to life. I don't really see that as something Marvel gets to co-opt just because they did it first, because really this character predates a lot of characters. We just never really seen him in live action aside from some crappy 70s show, which nobody remembers existed. I mean, because there was there was like a Shazam or a Captain Marvel from like the 1940s. I watched one of those episodes and completely different. I mean, Shazam, he's not Shazam, he's Captain Marvel in that one. Captain Marvel is using guns, shooting people up in the desert, and it's more of like a mystery kind of like The Mummy. They're going and like excavating different tombs and whatnot. It was interesting. I'll just say that. But I mean, back in the day, there was lawsuits against the creators of Shazam, Captain Marvel, and creators of Superman, DC, about ripping off the character. So they called Superman a ripoff of Captain Marvel. It really wasn't so much settled, I believe, as so much as kind of just dropped, and then DC just later bought him. So they're like, all right, we own him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then there's the fight between Marvel, the comic, and Captain Marvel, and they created their own Captain Marvel, which I find it funny that Captain Marvel, the film, came out around the same time as Shazam, and Shazam is by far a better movie than Captain Marvel, and it's more fun, and the other one kind of just tanked in a lot of things, just didn't land. So
it made $1 billion.
I mean, it made its money, but that's because Disney, like, I don't know, it's the way it works. And Marvel had a strong track record, but I've not really heard a whole lot of good about that film, and having watched it myself, I wasn't all that impressed. It's just, it's like for this one moment, things flipped and DC got it right. And Marvel, it wasn't a bad movie. Captain Marvel wasn't a bad film. It just wasn't great. It wasn't up to par with all the other things that had come. It
wasn't memorable.
It wasn't. Yeah.
And everything memorable about it came from characters we already knew, like Nick Fury and Coulson coming back, and whatnot. I mean, I guess there wasn't really anything like, okay, Ronan was there, but it was kind of forgettable, and that's why I think you can see, like, okay, Shazam 2 is going to be Shazam and the Fury of the Gods. I mean, Captain Marvel's sequel is just going to be The Marvels. So now she's getting, she kind of get her own team. Yeah, she's going to get sidelined with Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel, and that's just a bunch of Marvels. So maybe that's her realizing, okay, that one made a lot of money because it was a female-led superhero film, and we acted like that hadn't happened before, even though Wonder Woman had just come out not too long ago.
Right.
You know, and I know Brie Larson's got a lot of backlash on her, but we're on a reviewing a different film now. So.
Right. Yeah, we kind of jumped around a little bit. It's because as Shazam, just I feel like it speaks to a lot of what audiences like, what they want out of these movies, and we can compare it to a lot of things.
I think it had just about everything you want out of a movie that you could just sit back and chill, watch, and enjoy, and share with the family.
And I have a fond memory of it because, and I know there was a risk in having like little cultural references for that time and everything. But when this movie came out and we first saw the trailer, at the time, my youngest son was all about the floss. He'd do it everywhere. And he did it like he went like 90 miles an hour while he was doing it. And so in the trailer, when I saw Shazam do the floss, like that's where it got me. I'm like, I'm taking my son to see this movie.
Overall, I give this movie about a 7.5.
Okay.
I would say that, like, really solid. It's not breaking any new ground, but a lot of fun. Family wholesome movie, maybe an 8.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'd go with an 8. I know there are things that we could, if we wanted to really dissect it and be critical of it, you could talk about things like plot holes and things that didn't make sense. But overall, it was just a fun movie. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we doing next? I want to do Mortal Kombat.
You want to do Mortal Kombat?
I want to watch Mortal Kombat.
All right. I watched the first scene, but I just haven't had a whole lot of interest in it. But all right, I'll try to watch it for you so we can talk about it. But I'm doing it for you, Rob. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're doing it for our viewer.
Doing it. Yeah. Which might have even accidentally been me for all I know.
Hey, it's a slow build on YouTube. So, all right, guys. So join us next time for Mortal Kombat. Hopefully we get that up in about a week here. If you guys liked watching us ramble about a movie that we enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe down below. We'll get some notifications to you, and you can see us do it again. Till then, see you guys in the next one.
Talk to you later.